All right, moving on. The state is confronting sexual violence on college campuses this week in Lansing. First Lady Sue Snyder hosted the first ever summit dedicated to ending campus rapes. And the state police announced $500,000 in grants to be awarded to colleges, universities, and community groups who develop education and prevention programs. This was very interesting to see. And when you read, and I know that both papers have done some in-depth articles on this, to read the fact that the lack of consistency in how sexual assault cases are handled across campuses in the state is really very interesting. I'm going to start with you on this, Nolan.
Well, I mean, it's shocking that you can have a sexual assault on campus and it's reported to the college, and the college says, well, do you want us to call the police or do you want us to handle it? This is a serious crime. Rape is a Class 1 felony in Michigan, and the state has multi-layers of statutes to deal with all levels of sexual assault. The campuses, their first obligation when a crime is committed on their campus is to call the police. And we've got all of the politics around this issue now. Well, we don't necessarily want to call the police. We want, and the pressure from the government to close the cases and get outcome. This is a crime. The police should be called in. It should be handled through the criminal justice system. Colleges aren't capable of doing investigations and prosecutions and meting out punishments in a fair manner. We have laws to cover this, and we should be following them.
But I will have to say that sexual assault is not the same as a burglary in terms of when you do call the police, how it is handled. If all of a sudden you have 3 squad cars that are storming into a dorm and you have a victim that is sitting there, that it does have to be handled in a little bit of a different way, and that's part of the nuance here.
Well, I mean, the campus has some obligations in terms of how to manage that inside the campus culture, but they do not have a police responsibility to deal with it, but they have assumed that on themselves. This is an issue that came up when I was on campus as a student at the University of Michigan in the late 80s and early 90s, when the administration there decided to create its own police department, deputized officers with guns and arrest power, and then write an extensive code of non-academic conduct to try to deal with things that were crimes. And I mean, I can remember at the college newspaper writing dozens of editorials talking about the dangers of doing this, the dangers of the university assuming that it could supplant the role of the criminal justice system. There's all kinds of problems that have sprung from that. Sexual assault is one of them, but there's sort of a kangaroo court system operating on these campuses that doesn't ensure people's rights, doesn't ensure victims' rights, doesn't ensure defendants' rights the same way, because they don't have the legal obligation.
The process, but let's not pretend this is all being, growing up from the campus. This is being pressed down from Washington. The administration has put a lot of pressure on campuses, including University and Michigan State, to produce outcomes rather than to make sure the process is fair and just, and for both the victims and the accused. They've changed the standard now for determining guilt at the university level to preponderance of evidence rather than beyond reasonable doubt.
Which I would say is a constitutional violation.
It would seem, and you, as you said, the danger of this ranges from a cover-up to a bungled investigation to a kangaroo court. Yeah. And you're having now too many incidents come up where the accused are more or less being denied all of their due process rights and being railroaded under political pressure. I think it throws the whole issue of college rape into this political zone.
Was the summit this week and $500,000 grant enough to start a conversation, or enough to spur some real change, I guess?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think you need a lot more money, first of all, but I think you also need the conversation to be about this general question of whether universities should be in the business of deciding, punishments for crimes. It's just not their job, and they're not equipped to do it. It's just sort of flashback for me, this whole thing to being on campus and being so puzzled about why do we need a University of Michigan police force, which they have and is armed and has deputies and all this sort of thing. Why do you need that when you have Ann Arbor Police, Washington County Sheriff, State Police, who are all there able to deal with crime as it happens on the campus.
And now the gender politics on campus too are coming into
Very
play.
different.
I mean, if you look at these incidents, very many of them involve alcohol, involve binge drinking, and yet when you bring up those issues and say we really need to start tackling underage drinking on campuses, then it's like, oh gosh, you're blaming the victim. No, you're just trying to do some common sense preventative measures, and these kids coming in from high school and starting college as 18, 19-year-olds should understand the dangers of alcohol, both boys and girls, and the colleges have been way too reluctant to get involved in that area.